Restaurant Unstoppable. Inspire, empower, and transform the industry. Take us through the lessons you learned, the failures you had, the challenges you faced in opening your first location, your first brick and mortar.
I mean, I'm sure everybody in the restaurant industry or just running a business, people, that's the toughest thing about running a business is
Which aspect of people? What do you mean?
managing personalities, managing expectations, communication. Everybody has different styles and forms of communication. It's actually talking about mental health. I go to therapy. I'm actually going to therapists to help figure out how to be a better communicator, how to be a better leader. It's important to lead by example. It's a lot of pressure, to be that person for all these people every day, but also making sure that you clearly communicate all the things that people need. Pivoting through growth, managing growth has been an extreme challenge. I've grown a lot, and I've actually tampered it down. I could have done a lot more.
Yeah.
But it's also extremely important to manage quality, quality control with customer service, with our product, all those things. COVID obviously created a lot of issues with supply chain, with staffing, with just the natural things that, people not being able to get to you, getting your product to people, all that stuff.
So let's go back. You started with talking about the challenge of communication, being a better communicator, managing the different personalities, in that you're getting therapy to get better at this. What have you learned about better communication? How have you evolved as a better communicator?
I have a lot of just stuff that I'm working through, but I've learned that my past stuff has caused me issues, dealing with conflict, having those tough conversations. So just learning to also walk the line of, I'm all about building a positive culture and team environment. And I'm very close with all my team members. We connect because most of us all have same health issues and stuff like that. So figuring out how to be their friend, but also being the bad guy at times, and being comfortable being that bad guy, understanding that having those tough conversations garners respect out of the right people. If you don't get that respect, then maybe they're not the right team member for you or the right fit. So it's just a big learning curve of growing personally and taking on additional responsibilities and challenges. And I take being that leader extremely seriously and leading by example. But also, what does that mean? Balancing work and life. I take a lot on, so I feel like I should be there all the time. Well, these people don't expect me to be there all the time, but I put that on myself because I feel like I need to be that leader. Yeah. So it's just managing my own personal expectations as things grow. Also managing other team members and their personalities. And
what have you started doing to manage that? Because I think what you're describing, a lot of people can identify with. So how are you being better about understanding that you don't need to put this pressure on yourself? What's the inner dialogue?
It's just understanding more about myself. I'm probably hardest on myself than other people are on me, and I think the level of expectations that I have on myself, I leave and I'm like, well, I'm going to continue to work. I don't think they care if I'm continuing. I've been there since 4:30 in the morning, they're all like, you work too much. Go.
It's the pressure to be the hardest working, to set the expectation, to set the culture, to set the standard.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you slow down,
yep,
people are going to see that as the new standard. That's the fear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you walking yourself? How are you getting better about knowing that that's not true? There might be a little bit of truth to it, for being honest, but knowing that you got to find a balance.
I definitely work a lot still, so but also I also want to set the expectation. You don't have to work 80 hours a week, there needs to be a good work-life balance. I'm also very honest, and I tell them that I'm going to therapy. A lot of my team members feel like they need to be perfect or hold this accountability on themselves. And I'm like, well, I'm not perfect. I'm the owner. I have stuff that I'm working through, and I'm a work in progress.
Yeah.
It's okay.
There's a lot of power in vulnerability too.
Yes.
And when you get vulnerable, when you're vulnerable, that builds trust.
Yeah.
And trust, what's the power of trust?
It's loyalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The speed of trust.
Yeah.
Right. When people trust you, it's like lubrication. Things can happen a lot faster. You can hand things off because you trust that person.
Yep.
And when you get vulnerable, when you open up, when you think about a dog, when a dog rolls over on its belly,
Yeah.
or rolls over on its back and it exposes its belly. Like that's a dog being vulnerable. And in that moment, how much do you want to love that dog?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the same thing.
Well, it's also, it's a little bit easier to get people to do things that are outside of their box for you. You know, like they're going to step up to the plate, and they have a more of appreciation, you know, and going back to loyalty to you. Like I'm really focused on retention and keeping my team members around. Like I don't want to go find new people. I want to keep the people happy that I have, because it's easier, you know, they're already trained, but I can trust them.
Yeah.
You know, I can trust them with everything.
So what's your strategy for keeping these people around?
Treating them like humans,
Yeah.
being respectful, you know, asking them about how their day is, you know, like being vulnerable myself, sharing personal things about myself. But again, it's a struggle keeping that line, you know, of being their friend and being their boss as well.
Is it keeping people that's caused you to grow at such a quick rate?
I think it's finding the team members that we have that have been loyal. Yeah. Like I have an incredible team. You know, I'm always going to lose people, and there's always going to be some, you know, weirdness with some people. You know, like there's always not amazing hires, and you work through those things. But I mean, Jackie's been for 5 years. I just started hiring people about year 3, just past year 3. I have 19 people now, I think. But I've also added 2 new locations since. I have one in May and then one in August last year. So a lot of those people are new, but most of those people have been there from the beginning of that location opening.
Well, how much opportunity have you provided people since?
There's always opportunity for growth.
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like if and I don't want to put words into your mouth, but when you have people and you take them on and you're concerned about their needs and what they need, people need to grow. People need opportunity. So if you can be that opportunity, if you can be that growth, that's a win-win situation.
Yeah,
right?
It's opportunity. I give them more money. I try to, as much as I can, because that goes a long way. You know, everybody likes more money. But I also try to give them opportunity for education, like learning, opportunity for more responsibility, you know, opportunity for advancement, you know, going from manager, or just giving them additional responsibility with a raise, you know, because as we're growing, I'm only year 4. I have so much additional needs for new processes, more, you know, more managers and, you know, leadership that I didn't need last year. So I always let people know, like, this is a growing business. This is a growing company. I'm looking for these key attributes, you know, accountability, responsibility, attention to detail, and empathy, you know, and not only, and being a good team member, you know, thinking about your other team members as well as yourself, you know, don't leave your space messy for the next person to clean up. Do you want it that way?
That's
that
culture, right?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
standards.
It's culture.
You also talked about quality control when I asked you what your biggest challenge is. So what have you learned about quality control?
I mean, it starts with the person, you know, with people, you know, emphasizing that this is the way that things need to be, like in setting a standard. We have a very strict standard because, you know, we cater to a very specific group of people. But it also comes down to, like, for me, like, everything has to look the same every day. Like, if a donut's topped, it has to look exactly the same. The reason why is because our customer, if I feel like if they come in and it looks different, they're probably going to think that what's in it is different as well. So it goes from, like, the care and the thought being put into how that donut or cupcake or whatever is topped. It transcends into what that person thinks on how it was made and what went into it from the very beginning.
So what tactics and strategies do you implement to maintain quality?
I mean, we have very detailed processes. So, like, our recipes are measured by the scoop, you know, it's very detailed. The way that every team member is trained to top things in a very specific way. Like, there's just very detailed, laid out processes for everything.
Yeah. So you need, again, you can't be people dependent. You can't have one person that knows how to do everything. You need to create systems around those recipes.
Everybody's trained on everything too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. But when you create those recipes and those standards, you have the framework to educate.
Correct.
And it makes training easier, right? It's not just, you don't just rely on repetition.
No.
Like, you rely on a framework that you can point to and say, this is the picture of perfection.
Yep.
right?
We have all that. I mean, we have one-on-one training that you're trained, and then you're given your recipe book. You follow your recipe book. There's also pictures, and then you follow, and that person trains, and then you're given a little bit more leadway where you do something with that person by you, but you're doing it on your own, and then you do it on your own and through different steps, and that person checks back in, and then you do it all on your own.
So back to this idea of challenges, like your biggest challenges. We talked about communication. We talked about quality control. What else has challenged you in scaling that you've faced recently?
Supply chain.
Well, yeah. So is that out of our control right now, would you say?
I think it's out of control. I mean, it's like one new thing every day, or not every day, like every week. Like I just struggled finding spinach.
But is there anything you can do to change that?
Have a lot of money and stockpile it.
Yeah.
Like
well, I guess I'm saying
every single thing that you have.
I don't know. It's like an environmental challenge, right?
Yeah.
Where it's almost like just because of the state of our economy, the state of the world, there's just more demand than there is supply right now. So how do you deal with that?
Accept that that's going to be something that is a part of what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
I don't
want to get political.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's there right now. It's accepting that I can't control certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where else to go.
Yeah.
With
I guess I was saying, like, I was trying to alleviate this pressure that's not necessarily on you. Cause I think everyone's having that challenge, but no matter, like, that's just one of those things where it's like, what can I do? Like if it's not there, I can't get it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, our ingredients are extremely specific. So like if I can't get our butter, it's not like I'm going to go find another butter. I'm out of butter and I can't make anything. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a very, very big stress. Yeah. But like it's also like you said, what am I going to do?
I think there is some solace in knowing that you're not alone.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah.
So if you're experiencing that, everyone else is experiencing it too. So know that you're not alone. Know that it's a we thing and not a you thing.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, everybody I talk to, it's supply chain and staffing.